Welcome back. In this step, we'll understand what's happening in the background. In the previous step, we added in add component, we added in add autowired, and then we added the code to pick up the bean from the application context and use that to execute the binary search. But what's happening in the background? Let's try and understand it using debug mode. We are using a Spring Boot application. The easiest way to put the application in debug mode, I don't want the entire application to be in debug mode. I just want to put Spring Framework in debug mode. The way you can do that is by using logging.level. You know that the Spring Framework starts with org. So I would want to start with org dot spring frame. Okay, Spring Framework. That's cool. So that alone, I would want to use the debug level. So I'm logging all the log from Spring Framework at debug level. And now I can go ahead and run the application again. Cool. The application has completed running and you'd see that there is a lot more log than usual. It's a lot of log for you to filter through. So the easiest way to find out what's happening in the background is just take binary search IMPL and keep following the progress of it. So you can start searching Control F and start searching binary search IMPL and keep following the path through it. So what I've done is I've actually done the search and I've taken important snippets from the log and I have put them in this specific class. The first thing, as we talked about, is component scan. When we talked about creating the beans, we defined the beans, we defined the dependencies, and then we said we have to define where to search for the beans. And because this is a Spring Boot application, we said that this would automatically search in this package. That's called a component scan. So the first thing you'd see is a component scan being run. So it's saying searching this directory. So what I'm doing is searching this directory, which is the directory Spring in 28 minutes, targets, classes, com in 28 minutes, Spring basics, Spring in 5 steps. So that's basically this package. So I'm searching this package for any classes. What Spring does, it starts with a component scan. That's the first thing that Spring runs. Spring needs to know where the beans are. So it goes and searches this package. So it says, I'm searching this package. So I'm trying to find anything which is defined with an at component. One thing you need to remember is at component is not the only annotation that Spring searches for. There are other annotations we'll talk about in future steps. But for now, at component is the thing Spring is looking for, because that's the only thing which we have used until now. It's searching for classes with add component. So now it says I have found two classes. Which ones? I've found binary search IMPL.class and bubble sort algorithm.class. These are the two classes which have a component in there. So it's saying identified component class. So Spring is searching. So Spring, what it does, it goes to this package, it searches through all the classes and finds the components. The only two components that we have defined in here are binary search IMPL that has a add component, bubble sort algorithm that has a add component. The remaining classes we have not put add component on, so they will not be found. So this is an interface, no add component on it. The remaining classes does not have add component on them. That's why they are not found by Spring. Spring only looks for those things which are identified by add component and a couple of other annotations which we'll discuss later. So the two components which are found are binary search IMPL and bubble sort algorithm. Once Spring has figured out what components it needs to manage, then it would start creating the beans and trying to identify the dependencies. It would start actually, if you look through the log, you can search for binary search IMPL. You would see something like creating instance of bean, binary search IMPL. So it starts trying to create the binary search IMPL bean, but it sees when I try to create the binary search IMPL bean, it would see that it has a dependency. Okay, to be able to create the binary search IMPL bean, I would need to actually create the sort algorithm as well. So it goes ahead and sees what else is there. So it goes next, it sees bubble sort algorithm. Bubble sort algorithm, it sees that it does not have any dependencies. So it actually then goes and says, okay, I'll create the instance of it. So it starts creating an instance of the bean bubble sort algorithm. It completes creating it. So bubble sort algorithm bean is ready. Then it sees that binary search IMPL actually needs bubble sort algorithm. So it says, I would want to wire them together. How does the auto wiring happen? If I open the binary search, I'm opening up the binary search IMPL class, the auto wiring would take place through the constructor. We have provided a constructor, so Spring would use this constructor to do the auto wiring. So the sort algorithm would be auto wired to binary search IMPL. That's what you would see in the log as well. It says auto wiring by type via constructor. So this is called constructor injection. In a later step, we'll try and differentiate between constructor injection and setter injection. And once the thing is auto wired, that's it. So the bubble sort algorithm bean is ready, so it can be finished. So the bean is created. So this is how Spring goes and creates all the beans. So whatever you put as add component, whatever you put as add auto wire, it would try to create the components. It would see if there are any dependencies. If there are no dependencies, it goes ahead and creates the bean. If there are dependencies, then it would start searching for those dependencies and try to auto wire them in. Spring does a lot of magic in the background. I would really recommend you to spend some time with the log trying to understand what are all the different things that are happening. In this step, we put application into debug mode and we looked at all the different things which are happening in the background. We got an in-depth understanding into how the beans are managed by Spring, how Spring Framework searches for beans, how it creates the beans, and how it auto wires them. Until next step, bye.